All rise. Time for the Moorish American prayer. Stand facing the east. Feet at a 45 degree. 5 fingers up on the left, 2 fingers up on the right. And I'm going to ask Brother like Amari to lead us like in prayer.
Islam.
Allah.
Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Freedom.
And justice. Allah is my protector. My God. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. U.S.A. Amen. Islam.
First, I rise and give praise to Allah, give honors to his prophet, noble U.S.A, give honors to all that pertains to Islam, give honors to our illustrious prophet for bringing us these holy and divine lessons so that we may know how to save ourselves. Islam. I'm going to start with the divine constitution and bylaws, divinely prepared by the Prophet Noble U.S.A through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Act 1, the Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple was empowered to make and enforce laws with the assistance of the chairman of the Moorish, with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is the assistant Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he or she lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7, Moorish Science Temple of America. Friday is our holy day of rest because it was on a Friday the first man was formed into flesh, and it was on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh. For that reason, for that cause, Friday is a holy day for Muslims all over the world. Islam. Act 3. Just give me a second. I always get Act 3 mixed up with Act 4, so I just want to make sure. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be practiced and proclaimed by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of this government, because by being a Moorish American, you are what? Part and parcel of the government, and what? Must live the life accordingly. Can't say that I don't want to vote. I'm not going to participate like in this slave political system. Then you're still a slave, because the prophet set this up so that you could be part and parcel of it, so that you can't make the change if you're not a part of it. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or overthrow the laws of the Constitution of the said government, but to what? Obey hereby. Act accordingly and obey hereby. Because we are what? Lawmen and women. Law people. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are what? Teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, period. ETC, black, African Americans, so forth. Because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until what? 1865, during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men and women now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government of which they live and the nations what? Of the earth. Yeah. I should have told George, but they're new, so come on there. For that reason, this is why the Father God Allah ordained the Prophet Noble U.S.A to save his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabit the northwestern and southwestern shores of what? Africa. Islam. It's Islam, Mo. Good to see you. Yes. It's been a while. But nevertheless, it is good to see you. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings, and all members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to what? The name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. Children, sons and daughters must obey father and mother, and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This covenant is from your prophet, Noble Drali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Islam. Now, today we're doing something a little different because unfortunately the Grand Sheikh and his wife and the family's not feeling well. So that's why I'm here. That's why we're here. The show goes on because it's not his temple, it's our temple. You know what I'm saying? So like, oh, you can't function if I'm not here. Then what have you been studying? You know, have you studied enough to stand up and talk to your people? You know what I'm saying? But we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to have a meeting where you exercise the members who has been here a while. Yes, I'm going to put you on the spot today. You're going to get 15 minutes to come up and demonstrate. Whether you use the whole 15 it's okay if you don't. I'm going to take 10. Then I'm gonna bring up brother like Omari like in a few minutes, and then he's going to bring each of you up bring you up accordingly. Excuse my stammer, but you know I have the same impediment that Moses had. But praise Allah, it's not a problem. Okay. Now I wanted to keep it within the structure of the protocol of what we should be doing. So I'm going to come from chapter 30. Now each one can have their own chapter, but it was put on my spirit to do this. Holy instructions from the prophet on what? Social duties. Act accordingly, obey hereby. When thou considerest thy wants, when thou beholdest thy imperfections, acknowledge his goodness, O son of humanity, who honored thee with humanity, endowed thee with speech, and placed thee in society to receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligations, protection from injuries, thy enjoyment of the comforts and the pleasures of life. All these are owed to what? The assistance of others, and could not enjoy but in the bands of society. We are all bound to each other. You know, that is the core message. We're all bound to each other. You know what I'm saying? Oh, let me pardon me before I expound. I'd like to give honors to all of the mothers that's in here. So, you know, so I don't want you to feel left out. Sister, I seen you give me that mean look. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we're bound to like each other. No man lives unto himself. All living things are bound to what? Cause other living things. So I need you to function and vice versa. It is thy duty, therefore, to be a friend to mankind, as it is thy interest that man should be friendly to thee. Now, notice how the prophet worded that, to mankind. You know, to mankind. I take that, okay, like if I had to break that down, men would be mankind. You know what I'm talking about now. And man would be womb man. See what I'm saying? So now, here's my scenario. Man is not masculine, it's feminine. The son of man, the womb man, W-O-M-A-N, woman, womb man. She's the only one that has a womb. All eggs are female. So you see, you got the son of man and son of men. Why is it like that? Why is it just can't be just the son of man and just period? No, because man and men are not synonymous. See, that's the problem with the macho thing, is that men don't know their place and women don't know their place. See, it's one man, it's women plural and woman one, womb man one. But I'm not going to get too heavy like into that. As the rose breatheth sweetness from its own nature, so the heart of a benevolent man produces good works. He enjoys the ease and tranquility of his own breast and rejoices in the happiness and prosperity of his neighbor. I love to see you do good. Why would I be upset because you got 2 cars, a nice house, your family? I should be like smiling from ear to ear. I'm happy to see you, prosperous. But not us. What we do? We got 2 cars, man. Who you think he is? Who she think they went?
Hey, I'm about to see how to go get that other car.
Right. You know what I'm talking about? So see, these are the things, these are the sins that tears us down. Sin is self-inflicted. You're not born in sin. You're not shaped in like iniquity. Like a baby is perfect. They'll have no realm of what evil is, what nothing is, what homosexuality is. None of that. These are all grown and learned behaviors. As a matter of fact, these are things that you make a choice at. Like as a little boy, you look in the mirror and say, you feel more this way, feel more that way. These are choices, not to step on the toes of homosexuality, because I'm not homophobic. I'm nor for nor against. You have your own choice. I don't knock it, but I don't condone it neither. So I'm like in the middle. You choose. It's your choice. Like if that's what you choose, I'll respect it. I'll still show you the same love and respect as anyone else. He openeth not his ear unto slander, and the faults and the failings of men give a pain to his heart. His desire is to do good, and he researches out the occasions thereof in removing the oppression of another, if he relieveth himself. When I help you, it helps me. But when I can make you feel better, it makes me feel better. That's what that passage is actually saying. We need to reach out and help each other. From the largeness of his mind, he comprehendeth in his wishes the happiness of all men. And from the generosity of his heart, he endeavoreth to promote it. Islam, thank you. At this time, I'm going to bring a brother like Omari. He's going to do the 101s and let the games begin.
Islam family.
I did take exactly
exactly
10 minutes, right?
I'm not sure. I think you went over. But it's all right, though. It's all right.
Yeah, but I probably did about a minute.
It's all right.
I'm not going to call your voice. You can do that. I'll do that. Okay.
All right, Islam family. First, I rise, giving perfect praises to the great architect of the universe, Father God Allah. Giving praises to his to his forerunner of the movement, Noble U.S.A. Also giving honors to the forerunner of the movement, Marcus Messiah Garvey. Also want to give honors to all Moors in attendance and all Moors in attendance spiritually. Islam. Gratitude, Moors. First, before I begin my small lesson, I want to get into the 101s, also known as the Quran questions for Moorish children, because we're all children in the eyes of Allah. Islam. Also, this is what we call our question and answer period. So as I go through the 101s, if there's anyone in the room who have any questions or just want to add on to something that I'm going over, part of the 101s, or something that you heard previously, feel free by raising up the hand. I will acknowledge you, and then that person can exercise their 5 senses if they're able to do so. Quran questions for Moorish children. 1, who made you?
Allah.
2, who is Allah?
Allah is the Father of the universe.
3, can we see him?
No.
4, where's the nearest place we can meet him?
In the heart.
5, who is Noble U.S.A?
He is Allah's prophet. He is Allah's prophet.
6, what is a prophet?
The prophet is Allah manifested in the flesh.
7, what is the duty of a prophet?
To save the nation from the wrath of Allah.
8, who was the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Noble U.S.A.
9, what year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded?
1913 A.D.
10, where?
Newark, New Jersey.
11, where was Noble U.S.A born?
State of North Carolina.
1886.
12, what is his nationality?
Moorish American.
13, what is your nationality?
Moorish American.
14, why are we Moorish Americans?
Because we are descendants of Moroccans born in America.
15, for what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded?
For the uplifting of fallen humanity.
16, how did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish American?
By teaching them to be themselves.
17, what is our religion?
Islamism.
18, is that a new or is that an old time religion?
Old time religion.
19, what kind of flag is the Moorish?
It is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center.
20, what do the 5 points represent?
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
21, how old is our flag?
It is 50,000 years
It is
old.
over 50,000 years old.
22, which is our holy day?
Friday.
23, why?
Because Friday is the day on which man was formed in flesh, and it was on Friday when he
First
parted
part out
out.
of flesh.
24, who was Jesus?
He was a prophet of Allah.
25, where was he born?
In
Bethlehem, Judah, in the house of David.
26, who were his father and mother?
Joseph and Mary.
27, will you give in brief the line genealogy through which Jesus came?
Some of the great fathers through which Jesus came
are Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary.
28, why did Allah send Jesus to this earth?
To
save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time.
29, how long has that been?
About 2,000 years ago.
30, what was the nationality of Ruth?
Ruth was a Moabitess.
31, what is the modern name for Moabites?
Moroccans.
32, where's the Moroccan Empire?
Northwest Mexico.
33, what's the modern name for Mexico?
Africa.
34, what's the title given to our ruler in Morocco?
Sultan.
35, where do we get the name Jesus?
From the east.
36, what does the name Jesus mean?
Jesus means justice.
37, did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name?
Yes, but it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin.
38, what is an angel?
An angel is the thought of Allah manifesting in human flesh.
39, what are angels used for?
To carry messages
to the four corners of the world to all nations.
40. What is our prophet to us?
He's an angel of Allah.
He's an angel of Allah.
Who was sent to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah.
Islam. 41. What is the everlasting gospel?
It is the saving power that comes from Allah
through our ancient forefathers, his prophet.
No. 41. What is the everlasting gospel?
It is a saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet.
Islam. 42. What is the covenant of the great God Allah?
Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earthly plane which the Lord thy God, Allah, hath given thee.
43. At what age did Jesus begin to teach?
At the age of 12.
44. Where did he teach?
India, Africa, Europe.
45. How long did he teach?
18 years.
46. What did Jesus say would make you free?
Truth.
47. What is truth?
Truth is art.
48. What is art?
Art is Allah.
49. Can truth change?
Truth cannot change or pass away.
50. What other name do we give truth?
Holy breath.
51. What have you to say about holy breath?
All we say is in grace, it is good, it
Was and is and evermore to be. Amen.
Islam. 52. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed?
In the Garden of Eden.
What continent is that? That's a question to the floor. What continent is that? The Garden of Eden. What continent? Does anyone know? A guess? Yes? This is why we all here to learn.
Yeah,
So there's no wrong
here
answer.
for.
Islam, Saru? Islam.
Mexico.
Mm. Islam. Okay. It's a second heaven drawing. But I take any other drawings or any other perspectives? Chikati?
Well, the Garden of Eden is in Asia.
Islam. And that's the correct answer I was looking for. So it's the continent of Asia, right? So I said that for a reason, so I want you to hold on to that. 53. Now, where's the Garden of Eden?
The land of Canaan in the city of Mecca.
Islam.
In the land of Canaan and the city of Mecca.
54. What is the modern name for the Garden of Eden? 55. What is the name of the first physical man?
Only by the executive rulers of the A.C. and M.S.T. of A.
56. What are the words of the AC of the MST of A? 57. Who were Adam and Eve?
They are the mothers and fathers of the human family.
58. Where did they go? So now that's part of the reason why I asked at 52, where was the continent? Because if 58 says, where did they go? They went into Asia. I said previously, I call on you, Brother Mark. How was they in the continent of Asia if that's where the Garden of Mecca was? And then 58 said, where did they go? They went into Asia. So how did they go into Asia if they was already in Asia? It's a question. Islam, Brother Mark.
Honor and praise and great architect, Allah, forerunner, Prophet God, forerunner, Prophet Noble, our honorable members of the kingdom, Grand Chief, Chiefs of the temple, and all members of everything dealing with
Islam. Understood.
Actually, that was the thought that I was having as well, because, and I'm thinking, Canaan land, which is, say, like the area of up there where Canada is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So as we read it through the 101, like you said, like they said, they went into Asia. Mm-hmm. The question is where is God in Eden, right? Mm-hmm. So now if they went into Asia, the Garden of Eden have to be here in the Americas. It have to be here. This have to be the hemisphere, which they was in prior to going to Asia. And so, meaning they were here in Canaan.
Islam. So I want to, I will accept the answer, but I want to clean it up if I can.
Yes.
So I want to give you have two conceptions now that you have going on. One, you're correct with how you put it together, but at that point, at that time, there wouldn't been no separation of continents because we would have been one mass. Right. That's the science of the Asiatic. That's that drawing. So that's why because it's where I pose it way in a trick statement because again, 52. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed in the Garden of Eden? So originally, in this totality, your concept is correct. But just understand this: in 53 is where is the Garden of Eden and the land of Canaan and the city of Mecca, which is saying, which is modern day Canada. Yes, Canaan land. 54. What is the modern name for the Garden of Eden? Mecca, right? 54. So vibrate with me. What is the modern name of the Garden of Eden? Modern. So we're not talking on the ancient construct. We're talking about a more modern touch. And this more modern touch will be in your physical continent of Asia, or what we know as Asia today. So now it says 58, where did they go? They went into Asia. So now just vibrate through the story, right? And this is how the prophet is helping us understand, because just how the Grand Sheikh had just demonstrated a couple of weeks ago, it's all the 101s. It's going to begin to unfold like a story. So just vibrate through 59. What is the modern name given to the children? Asiatics, because we're the children of the. Now that's your concept of the entire landmass as being we say the 5% say the original Asiatic black man, right? We don't agree necessarily with that concept, but the Asiatic, yes. 60. Who was guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep unbelievers away? Angels. 60. What is the modern name for those angels?
Asiatics.
Okay. Islam.
If I may expound.
Islam.
Okay. This is when this is taking place during the Adam and Eve. The landmass we hadn't had the great earthquake yet.
Islam.
So yes. Canada is Upper Kemet, and Florida is Lower Kemet. It's land of flowers. So, this is just to bring a little clarity.
Islam. But that's what I'm building. So, because I already explained to him.
I'll stop. Islam.
So that's everyone's vibrating with me. So again, we understand that this is one landmass. So the concept of you saying the Canada, that aspect, the landmass hasn't separated yet. So we're still in one place. That's why the reference of Asiatics as a whole. So the whole landmass we all know is known as Asia. So that's the concept of Asiatics. Now 62. What is the shade of their skin? All right. 63. Are the Moorish Americans any relation to those angels?
Yes. We all have the same father and mother.
Islam. Now we're going to revert because now we got to go back. Sometimes you got to take a few steps back to go forward. Now let's go back to 57. Who were Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslims. 59. What is the modern name given to the children? Asiatics. 60. Who is guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep unbelievers away? Angels. So it's basically now you got to have an understanding that the Asiatics and the Muslims are the same people, but with a different mental concept. Like today, how you will vibrate off a Moorish American and a black person, right? We will have two different national concepts, right? If I can say, but we definitely have the same bloodline.
Yes.
But we have different actions. We have different concepts. We have different beliefs.
Yes.
So those are the Asiatics and the Muslims. We're the same people with different ideologies, which begin to draw us out. So now, again, let's keep vibrating to understand this entire 101s of what the prophet is trying to say. 64. Give 5 names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve.
Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast.
And hold on to that. And I just want you, if everyone has a copy, go back to question 14. Question 14. Why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. So now do you see how I'm pulling the story together? So the descendants of the Moorish Americans are descendants of the Moroccans. And the descendants of the Adam and Eve are your modern day Negro, blacks, and colors. So same people, different vibration, different vibratory rate.
Yes.
Islam?
Yes.
And we're going to continue to overstand this as, again, keep following the prophet. 65. What is the devil sometimes called? 66. Now, how many cells are there? 67. Name them. And how we know this is a mental vibration is because 68 says what people represent the higher self, not what people are the higher self, what people represent the higher self. Islam. Now go back to 60. Who was guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep unbelievers away? Islam. 69. What people represent the lower self?
Those who were cast out of the holy city and those who accept their teaching.
Now that's 58. Where did they go? They went to Asia. They was physically, mentally pushed out and physically driven out of the Holy Land. But why? Based off the mental vibration and the lower self actions and deeds, and just all the 5 lower self attributes of Adam and Eve. Islam. 70. What is the higher self?
Mother of virtue, harmony of life, peace, justice, mercy, love, and right.
Islam. 71. Can the higher self pass away?
No.
72. Why?
Because it is a law man.
73. What does the lower self greed?
Hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms.
74. What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him?
Where are you going, Satan?
Islam. 75. What was the answer that the lower self gave to the higher self?
I am going to and fro the earth, seeking whom I may devour.
76. Has he finished his task of devouring?
Yes.
77. When was his time declared out?
When he nailed Jesus to the cross.
Okay, I want to build another question to the floor. 77. When was his time declared out? Who is the him, and what does it have reference to? The question was 77. When was his time declared out? Who is the his, and what is it in reference to? Islam, Brother Mark.
Islam. I mean, if we speak in symbolic and metaphysically, it's your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you're not of the same, if you're not demonstrating, like say, you're not demonstrating of the same concept that the people are dwelling to uplift themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you as it said, you was cast out. So that means you were under a different vibration, you didn't have the same concept or ideology.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of forgot my rest of my thought part. So
Islam. When it come back to you, I'll Islam, Sheikh Shati.
If I may just add on from what Mark, you're definitely on point.
Islam.
To him, there's only 2 selves. There's a higher self and lower self. When he nailed him to the cross, when he nailed the lower self of him to the cross, it was done. Right. You know what I'm saying, if he had already risen to his higher self, and Satan was Satan is now defeated. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go on because I know he's going to go with it. You know what I'm saying? But you constantly have to beat the devil because every day you wake up, you're at odds with yourself. So I'll stop it right there. Yes.
So to say that his time declared out is the representation of lower self. And also everything that Sheikh Shatik said is a fact, but just to also understand for those that don't know, it's symbolic.
Yes.
These are all just symbolic views of just incidences, fighting self of higher self and lower self, right? What is man is higher self, and falsehood strangely mixed. So this is the natural fight that we go through every day within ourselves of just being who we are. Islam? Oh, Islam, Brother Mark. I'm sorry.
I just want to just make sure that I'm conceiving or receiving this the proper way, right? So that symbolic meaning also has to deal with the work oneself has to do with themselves, right?
Indeed.
To correct their passion, to correct their movement, to correct whatever characteristic or integrities that we need to do, or the work that we need to do to correct those situations within ourselves. So symbolically, higher self, low self, when we get the instruction, it should also move us in a certain kind of way, or have us thinking on a certain level.
Islam, that's part of the science of when was his time declared out. In order for a time to be cleared out brings acknowledgement, in order to In order to defeat lower self, you got to know there is a lower self. Islam. 78. What were the last words that Jesus uttered?
It is finished.
79. What did he have reference to?
He had reference to the end of Satan.
64. Give 5 names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve. Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. I just want to bring that back again to 79. What did he have reference to? Reference to the end of Satan, meaning partially also the ending of lower self. Islam?
Right.
We're going to help you. We're going to understand this more. 80. What did Jesus say that he will return to conquer him? Yes. 81. What is the name of the person into whom Jesus was first reincarnated?
Muhammad the Conqueror.
82. Was Satan to be bound then?
Satan was to be bound in part.
And that's the signs of Jesus being nailed to the cross. Islam? That's why higher self is a spirit, a part of man, and it cannot pass away, and the lower self will. That's the separation of the self. Islam? 83. When was the head of Satan taken off?
1453 Byzantine.
84. By whom?
By Muhammad.
85. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest by the European nations of 1774.
Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian.
86. Negro.
Negro.
Name given to a river in West Africa by the Moors because it contains black water.
87. What is meant by the word black?
Black, according to science, means death.
88. What does the word colored mean?
Colored means that anything that is painted, stained, varnished, or dyed.
89. What does Ethiopia mean?
Ethiopia means something divided.
90. Can a man be Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian?
No.
91. Why?
Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God, Allah.
Islam. 92. What title does Satan give himself?
God.
93. Will you define the word white?
White means purity. Purity means God. And God means the ruler of the land.
94. To whom do we refer at times as being the great God?
Allah.
95. Is the devil made in the image and the likeness of Allah?
No. He is a shadow of our lower selves and will pass away.
96. Who made the devil?
Elohim.
97. Who is Elohim?
Elohim is the seven created spirit that created everything that was, is, and evermore to be.
98. What is Elohim sometimes called?
The 7 eyes of Allah.
99. How many days are in a circle?
7 days.
100. How many days are in a creation?
7 days.
101. According to science, how many days are in a year?
7 days.
Islam. Before I conclude the one-on-ones, would there be any additional questions or statements anyone would like to ask or go over or need clarification on before we have the next speaker? Islam, gratitude, Moors. Appreciate the time and listening and the participation. The next speaker will bring up his Flying Obey. Islam.
Your brother, we ain't running for office. Go ahead, man.
Islam. First I rise and I give all praises to Allah, the Father of the universe. Give honors to Noble Drew Ali. Give honors to the Marcus Messiah, the Harbinger. Give honors to the Grand Sheikh, Sheikhis, to all Sheikhs, and everyone present here, everything pertaining to Islam, and also all the viewers. Islam. So I wanted to go over, I want to welcome the family here too. I'm just meeting y'all, so I want to say peace and Islam. It's a pleasure to meet y'all. And pleasure to meet you, sister. So I want to go over the chapter in constancy, which is page 63 in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. Constancy. I'll wait till everybody reaches the page.
What is the chapter?
Chapter 63. I mean 41. Pardon, sir. I'm about to say the page I thought you meant.
Is there any way we can get one so we can follow along?
Oh, yes, of course.
I don't
of
think
course.
there's any in here more.
Okay. You can,
Yes.
I'll let you hold mine.
Holy instructions from
Chapter
the prophet.
63. No, there's no chapter 63.
No, inconstancy.
No.
Holy instructions from the prophet, inconstancy.
No,
No, there's no more in here.
Yes, let me just, he said, constancy, right? Yeah.
Islam. Oh, he's waiting for the just 1 minute. Islam. Chapter 41, Holy Instructions from the Prophet Inconstancy. Nature urgeth thee to inconstancy. O man, therefore guard thyself at all times against it. So when it says nature urgeth thee to inconstancy, oh man, what do you believe or think that means? When it says nature urgeth thee to inconstancy, oh man. Anyone? Yeah.
Like stay away from like the constant evils of everyday life.
Right. Islam. Yep, because nature, when he's saying nature is talking about your own, like not talking about like Allah, it's talking about the nature of the thoughts of man when they're dealing with his lower self, the atrocities that come towards him when he's facing life. Nature urgeth thee to inconstancy, O man, therefore guard thyself at all times against it. Thou art from the womb of thy mother, various and wavering. From the loins of thy father inheriteth thou instability. However, then shalt thou be firm. Those who gave thee a body furnished it with weakness, but he who gave thee a soul armed thee with the resolution. Employ it, and thou art wise. Be wise, and thou art happy. Islam. Let him doeth well. Beware how he boasted of it, for really is it of his own will.
Right.
So when he's doing stuff to make himself, when he's doing well, he should not boast of and say that, this is me. I'm flying go. That's what I do. He should give honor and praise to Allah, saying that it's not of his own will. Because remember, his nature urgeth him to inconstancy, and Allah is not going to be inconstancy. So, being that nature is urging him to inconstancy, he got it. When he does it well, he knows that he has to know that's not of his own will, because it's not of his own will. Rarely is it of his own will. So is it not is not the event of an impulse from without born of uncertainty enforced by accident, dependent on someone else? To thee and the and it says to thee and to accident is due the praise.
That's right.
Right, because it's not of their self, not of their own will. And you can't praise man, so it has to be Allah. Beware of irresolution in the intent of thy actions. Beware of instability in the execution. So shalt thou triumph over two great failings of thy nature. What reproacheth, if anyone has any questions, so you can just, let me know. What reproacheth reason more than to act contrarieties? What can suppress the tendencies of these but firmness of mind? So, we got to use our reason to basically subdue these lower self thoughts that we have, and we're going to use that to build up ourself. Okay, so it says, let's see, where am I? The inconstant feeleth that he chargeth, but he knoweth not why. No, pardon self. The inconstant feeleth that he changeth, but he knoweth not why. He seeth that he escapeth from himself, but he perceiveth not how. Be thou incapable of change in that which is right, and men will rely upon thee. So he don't even know why he changeth and why he's doing good or why he's doing bad. He knoweth not why. He seeth that he escapeth from it. So sometimes he'll do bad and he'll be like, well, I got away with it. But still, but he knoweth not why. It's okay. So he seeth that he escapeth from himself, but he perceiveth not how. But thou, I said, be thou incapable of change in that which is right, and men will rely upon thee. So if you're doing that and you're recognizing what you're doing, then men will see it and do the same as you, and come to you and ask you, well, how did you do that? How did you make that change? How do you keep that right path? Establish unto thyself principles of action, and see that thou ever act according to them. So once you see how you subduing these ills and these thoughts, keep that alive, keep doing that, and you're going to stay strong. So shall thy passions have no rule over thee. So shall thy constancy ensure unto thee good thou possess it, and drive from thy odor misfortune. Anxiety and disappointment shall be strangers to thy gates. So you don't gotta sit there and think like, oh, what should I do? That's anxiety. So we gotta keep these passions bound, in righteousness. Suspect not evil in anyone until thou seest it. When thou see it, forget it not. So don't accuse somebody and saying, oh yeah, the brother said, he beat that child up over there, and you didn't really see it, but even though someone else saw it, then that person, if you don't have the gifts of understanding, you can't teach it to another person to say, all right, well, he saw it because you wasn't there. So it's a disadvantage for that person because he don't know, even though he's saying that, yeah, he did it, but you didn't see it, so
it's like hearsay.
Yeah, it's like hearsay. Islam.
And I would add on too, also, we know that see can also be another comprehension of understanding. To see is to understand. So when you say don't suspect not evil until you see, it's also like till you have it's like what in law we would say like evidence. So to see, it's also mean to have a complete understanding and comprehension to suspect anyone of anything. So it's not only to visually see, but to mentally have a mental conviction of a proper evidence that evil has been done. And justice must take its course.
Islam. Okay. Whoso hath been an enemy cannot be a friend, for man mendeth not his faults. So if he's an enemy and he did you wrong, he ain't gonna mend his own faults. He gonna keep doing that to other people. He may do it again to you. So if he's your enemy, don't forget him. Don't forget that that's what he did to you. But you know what I mean? For man mended not his faults. How should this action be right? Who have no rule over his life? Nothing can be just with which proceedeth not from reason. So we know that justice is a form of reason. So like when you're saying something to yourself, yeah, man, I should do that. It's wrong, but you know what? I ain't gonna do that. That's justice right there. You doing it before it happened. You making sure that it don't happen. See what I'm saying? So that's how justice would be. Where is it at? Where was I at? Nothing be just. Yes. So nothing can be just which proceeded from not from reason. So you got to be real with yourself and know these things is wrong before you do them and counter it, because you have the will, you have a soul to subdue these things, your reasoning, willing, thinking, and understanding, which is the soul.
Oh, it's not. That's
not.
because that's also what the building of what we said before with the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Nothing can be just. Nothing can be justified to be right and exact, which proceeds not from proper reason. Right? Meaning you can't justify nothing if you haven't even put a proper context to it, then the whole setup is wrong.
Islam.
Islam.
It makes sense. Islam. Islam, more.
Rise, giving praise to Allah, honor to the Prophet, honor to everything that pertains to Islam.
Islam. Honest to you, Noble.
Islam, I just want to add on to your lesson for a second.
Islam.
If we go back to Ayah 12, whoso have been an enemy cannot be a friend, because man mended not his faults. Just want to expound on that, because that's important. That we don't want to get lost in misinterpretation.
Islam.
It doesn't mean that who has been an enemy can never be a friend. The lesson within that is saying that if man don't make amends of his actions, then he can never be a friend.
Absolutely.
He must first come to that realization.
That's right.
Like, you know how people say, ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
You know, I'm just saying what people say, especially in the Christian world. You must be forgiven. You must ask for forgiveness first before you can be forgiven.
Islam.
It's sort of like the same lesson.
Right.
As the person got to realize his fault first.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
they have to show that they recognize it and make a reparation towards those faults. Once they, in our minds, in our movement, we call it proclamation of nationality. Once you proclaim your nationality, you're supposed to have put a end to the lower self, to that man's life, X-rail that you was once associated with.
Islam.
Evil, the lower self, etc. Once you do that, then you are, in Christian world, again, they call it you born again, or you baptized. So symbolically, what that means is that you can't be held accountable for what you did before. You took on a new life, a new birth. It's a new you. Your higher self now, you're not the lower self. So now that individual, once he has asked for forgiveness, now he can be forgiven, and now he could be a friend.
Islam.
Because man mended not his faults, meaning that man, the lower self man, mended not his fault. Understand? You must become a new man. You understand? Your higher self must prevail, and then you can be a friend of mankind. That's what that lesson is saying.
Islam. Shukran,
Well,
Mo.
let me just
Islam,
help
Mo.
my teacher here real quick.
Islam, Noble. Do your thing,
Well,
Noble.
no, I was gonna get you, bro. I didn't want to get you now.
Islam. Okay. The inconstant have no peace. The inconstant have no peace in his soul. Neither can be at case with whom he concerneth himself. So in being inconstant, if you inconstant, because our soul is reasoning, willing, thinking, and understanding. So if you inconstant, it cannot have no peace within the soul, because the soul is supposed to, be the medium to direct the breath, which is the spirit, which is the truth. So it has no place within the soul plane because it's of a lower realm, a lower thinking, which is lower self. You can't have two selves, even though we're truth and false so strangely mixed. we have the power to subdue this with our soul, which is our reasoning, thinking, and understanding. As long the inconstant have no peace in his soul, neither can he be at ease with whom he concerns himself with. His life is unequal. His motions are irregular. His soul changeth with the weather. Today he loveth thee, tomorrow thou art desert. Pardon self. Today he loveth thee, tomorrow thou art detested by him. And why? Himself knoweth not wherefore he hateth, pardon self. Let me read that again. Today he loveth thee, tomorrow thou art detested by him. And why? Himself knoweth not where he now hateth. Sorry.
Islam.
Yeah.
If you don't mind,
No.
I know the passage that you're reading. How can I not love myself and say how can I love God and not love you? You know, and you live next door. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna use like another Christian scenario. How can you love God whom you but hate your neighbor that lives next door? Right. So with this passage, I'm going to say that I know the passage. You don't love himself, so he's inconstant. You don't know the way he feels. You can't say how he feels. He like you now, the next one he don't like you is because these are the traits of within himself. He don't like himself. So it's impossible for him to show you a constant flow, man, of a constant flow of acceptance, because he's not yet accepting himself. That's why it's called inconstancy.
Islam, it makes sense. Islam, universal. Islam.
I'm going to touch on his life is unequal. It's dealing with that's why we deal with principles.
Yes.
Love, truth, peace, and justice. Because if a person understands principles, those are morals.
Right.
Those are the foundation to stand for something. A lot of people deal with different things because they don't have nothing to stand for. So a lot of things fall down or change. One day you're Christian, one day you're Muslim. It's changed by the weather.
Right.
Weather changes. Peace.
Peace, Noble. Thank you, Mo.
I just last thing to that. I think to simplify it is we all know the term is that you can't, when they say you can't love others until you learn how to love yourself. That's just the concept of the entire passage is you can't have something for someone else that you don't even have for yourself.
Islam.
That's true. Islam. Islam. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna give another demonstration on that too. With today he loveth thee, tomorrow thou art detested by him, and why? Himself knoweth not wherefore he now hated. And himself, when some people they grow up, they could grow up around different types of religions, different type of backgrounds, and some families might teach their children how to hate. This the enemy, this all we do. We strive against fighting them, because they're going through a lot of how you say why did Allah send Jesus, to the earth to save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression. So sometimes people have to fight, and that's considered in a way justice, because the hand of Allah is not weakened, even though these people are like coming at them and in a strange way, they still have love within themselves. But for their brother, which is supposed to be their brother, they don't, because there's an action that's going against them to harm them. So as they look at themselves and raised in that era or that time, that's how they raised. But then you have us over here on this side of the globe, the planet. some of us raised in Christian backgrounds, Muslims, and we learned love and we learned some type of hate. So as we grew up and we started thinking for ourselves now, we did stuff that we loved, and some things that we knew was wrong, which hateful, we still did it anyway. So even if that's a part of yourself, that's I'm saying, a realization of yourself. Today he's at this 17. Today he's a tyrant. He's the tyrant. Tomorrow thy servant is less humble. And why? He who is arrogant without power will be servile while there is no subjection. Today he is profuse, tomorrow he grudgeth unto his mouth that which it should eat. Thus it is with him who knoweth not moderation. Who shall say of the chameleon, he is black, when the moment after the verdure of the grass overspreadeth him? Who shall say of the inconstant, he is joyful, he is next breath in his when his next breath? Who shall say of the inconstant, he is joyful, when his next breath shall be spent in sighing? What is the life of such a man but the phantom of a dream? In the morning he riseth happy, at noon he's on the rack. This hour he is God, the next below a worm. One moment he laugheth, the next he weepeth. He now willeth, in an instant he willeth not, and in another he knoweth and in another he knoweth not whether he willeth or not. Yet neither ease nor pain have fixed themselves on him, neither is he waxed greater or becomes less. Neither hath he had cause for laughter or reason for his sorrow. Therefore shall none of them abide with him. The happiness of the inconstant is as a palace built on the surface of the said. The blowing of the wind carrieth away its foundation. What wonder then that it falleth? But what exalted from is this? That hitherward directs it even, its interrupts course, and its uninterrupted course, whose foot is on earth, whose head is above the clouds. On his brow sitteth majesty, steadiness in his port, and in his heart reigneth tranquility. Though obstacles appear in his way, he deigneth not to look down upon them. Though heaven and earth oppose his passage, he proceedeth. The mountains sink beneath his tread, the waters of the ocean are dried up under the sole of his foot. The tiger throweth himself across his way in vain. The spots of the leopard glow against him unregarded. He marcheth through the embattled legions. With his hands he putteth aside the terrors of death. Storms roar against his shoulders, but are not able to shake them. The thunder bursteth over his head in vain. The lightning serveth but to show the glories of his countenance. His name is resolution. He cometh from the utmost part of the earth. He seeth happiness afar off before him. His eyes discovereth her temple beyond the limits of the pole. He walketh up to it and entereth boldly, and he remaineth there forever. Establish thy heart, O man, in that which is right, and then know the greatest of human is to be immutable. Islam. So, what I'm drawing off of those last 7 ayats is that man is the Lord of the plains of the things made manifest. in our chapter 1, the creation and fall of man, it's showing you the same thing as inconstancy, that man forgot who he was and debased himself because he had gratified his lower self. So this is similar to chapter 1 when it's saying that man is as perfect as from which the seed of which he came from, which is Allah. So our nature is to get back to the mindset to where we can raise ourselves, raise our consciousness up to being one with Allah again. And also, like I said, man is the Lord of the plans of things made manifest. So as a man thinketh, so shall it be. So you gotta train your thoughts, because it's going to be reflected onto the world, because everybody's looking at you, and when you manifest it, they're going to be looking at you, and some people might follow the same thing that you do. So you got to be careful on what you're teaching. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that it's true. Make sure it has love. More Shines Temple of America, number 10. Lord Noble, Nature El Bay.
Islam.
Allah finds out.
Say it again. You don't have it? Islam, family.
Islam.
Y'all bear with me because my voice is kind of still low. Islam. Islam already risen, but I want to give honor again. I want to give special honors to Brother Wisdom and his family, Sister Zara, their family, and their children. Islam. These Moors were and is a part of our organic, original founding of the Moor Science Temple here in Asbury Park. Islam. So they've been around for a long time in Islam. So it's not by chance that Brother Flying Go actually was talking about the chapter in constancy, because I want to camel back off that lesson for a second. And these Moors been around. They've seen the transition of the learning from the beginning. Things in the past was a little bit different from what they are now, and we know as man unfolds, as God unfolds. So your condition is always going to change, as your understanding change. And as your understanding change, your activities should change. So it's important that some of the new Moors, I would say, who's just coming in over the past 5-10 years, it's a little bit harder now for Moors to really, it's easier and harder, but harder meaning the testimonials that I just bringing forth to these Moors, that back when we started, people say, what's that? When you say Moor, what's that? Not Moor Science Temple, just Moor period. What's that? What's that on your head? We come from those era times, where the teaching was a little bit different than what it is now. There was no YouTube. I was just talking about maybe a week or two ago that we did nationality cards and affidavits on typewriters.
That's right.
There was no computers. There was computers, but they wasn't advanced, where we wasn't up on the technology, and they wasn't made to the public like that.
Absolutely.
Computers been around for a while, but they were mainly used by military.
And then later, once the military was done with their plans, that's when it started to become more available to corporations, and then lastly to the people.
That's right.
You know, so everything that we did back in those times was definitely more challenging. More challenging to get acknowledged, to get recognized. Claim your name and nationality was a struggle. You know, we go into agencies and trying to proclaim our nationality, and they don't know what you're talking about at all.
Right.
You know, and people fear what they don't understand.
Right.
You know, so when you go into these agencies, you're looking at, like Drew Ali said in the lesson, it appears to be something new. Although that we know is nothing new, but it appears to be new. That's why they say, well, what's that? What you talking about? More of this, more of that. We never heard of that. We don't recognize that. So again, you know, I just want to give honors to not just them, but just all of the forerunners for what we have today. Because we give honor where our honors due. And, you know, and it's unfortunate that a lot of the old Moors that's been around have been burnt out because the times were different. It was a lot more struggling than what we have to do today. You know, and I just want the new Moors to acknowledge and just understand what a lot of the elders went through that they never had to go through, that we don't have to go through now. We're dealing with new era and time challenges. There's always going to be challenges, but the challenges today that you might be experiencing is a little different from the challenges 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You know, and we just have to acknowledge that because we need that experience, and that is part of the history, that we need all of that in order to grow. You know, times is rapidly changing. We're going into another administration right now of government. And now we have to embrace what changes is about to come that we don't really know what they are yet. You know, just like this COVID-19 is got people in a state where you don't know what to expect. It's just speculation. People could say, well, is this, is that? You speculate, but you really don't know. And you really don't know the effect, because everything deals with cause and effect in this universe. So when we're dealing with cause and effect, you don't know the effect. There's people who do know the effect, but that's not what you're going to find on YouTube. That's not public as what people think it is. You know, everything is layered with distractions for different consciousnesses. So each school of thought has its own layer of distractions. And we got to be aware of that. Because like Brother Drew said, that if we're not careful, our own brother will put us back in slavery. That's right. And it occurs every day because slavery is a state of mind. It's a state of mind. So as long as we got trapped thoughts and in constant energy, because it comes from ignorance. Absolutely. As long as we have that, we're going to still suffer slavery. Because slavery has nothing to do, a small portion of it has something to do with someone else compels you to do. But most of slavery is voluntary.
Self-inflicted.
And that's the science that Noble Drew Ali taught. That's the science we have to learn in order to free ourselves. And that's what he taught. He said that he was here to free us from mental slavery, which we now have. So we have to look at this as a mental plantation, starting from our household, our communities, on both sides of the government, regardless of what you call government, is servitude on all different levels. But we don't want to frown at the servitude because that's another lesson. Servitude has many advantages, according to the Quran. And you have to study it in order to understand where I'm going with it. It releases us from the solicitudes in life. So we want to go back into the inconstant. The chapter that he read is based off the inconstant. Nature urges thee into inconstancy. So what is that really saying to us? From another perspective now, nature is not a man. Nature is not a woman. You can perceive it that way, but that's one perception. But that's not necessarily what the Quran is trying to convey to us. I refer to myself as nature. That's one of my attributes. But what does that really mean? Nature means anything that's in existence.
That's right.
Anything that took form, which means anything that manifested. So manifestation is also an example of nature.
Absolutely.
So my full attribute is Lord Noble Nature, El Bay. But I understand that man is the Lord of all the planes. So Lord Noble Nature means that I have to strive to be Lord of the physical plane,
Right.
which God intended us to be. But that's no different from everybody that's in here. Everyone in here is Lord Noble Nature El Bay according to manifestation.
That's right.
We just have to understand that. We have to understand it, we have to acknowledge it, and then we are to master that. So although we might have different attributes, our goals and missions should be the same, regardless of what we call ourselves. Yes, Islam.
Islam. You said nature urges you to inconstancy, right?
Correct.
But nature is not a person or like any of those things.
Correct.
So that brings me to understanding that nature in itself is a temptation.
Absolutely.
So you're tempted to either go to the right side of nature or to the left side of nature. You have the gift of reasoning, right? So that's where it takes me. I'm not going to expound no further. I'm just saying that is just the
Perception.
simplicity of it.
Absolutely. Islam. So just using myself for an example, and the perception the Sheikh just brought to us, nature itself represents the lower self. The physical plane represents the lower self. Earth represents the lower self. Asia represents the lower self. So the prophet said there's only two races on the planet. No. Two races. The human race, which is technically the only race, but also as a perception, the Asiatic race, which if you go back into the Quran, that's what we were talking about when I walked in.
That's right.
That's the whole story that is teaching in the questionnaires. First physical man. Where did they go? They went into Asia. So that's a story within itself. But the point I'm trying to make is everything that took form is an example of the lower self. So when we say nature urgeth thee into inconstancy, we're understanding that the lower realm, the lower self, regardless of what attribute you give the lower self, is a mixture of truth and falsehood, just like man. So man was created with everything else that was created on that plane of manifest, the physical world, simultaneously. So man in his lower state, his lower self, lower man, or whatever you want to call it, physical man, all right, in opposition to spirit man, we're talking about physical man, was formed with a body, physical body, just like the celestial bodies was formed. We had this conversation the other night, Friday night, right? So because man shares the truth and falsehood strangely mixed, he is not constant. He's not consistent. He is not perfect. Back to the lesson you had. So because we have a physical body automatically means that we're truth and falsehood strangely mixed, where there is always going to be conflict and challenges on that plane. This whole plane is made up of conflict and challenges. It's a test. So our job as humans is to become aware of the challenges from our individual selves and our universal self and begin to serve our Creator so that we can balance the equation of man, physical man, and spirit man, or what we say physical and metaphysical. We have to balance the equation to become perfected, to become not of this earth anymore, which is a mental strategy to overcoming that chemical reaction. Without going too far in it, I just want to throw that out there so that we understand the chapter, because the chapter is very heavy, what we were just dealing with. So we really just touching the surface of it. We don't really have time to get into it, but I'm inspiring you or encouraging you to read the chapter and all the chapters so that you can get a better understanding where it's going. Because if you're reading it for the first time, it'll put you to sleep. And when it does that, we miss the whole jewels that's in it. So you have to go, all of these chapters are designed that you have to do self-study and go back. We're only here to spark interest in the area to give you some tools on how to address it. But it's not designed for a crash course to give you a full understanding, because it's a lifetime study of what we're talking about. Islam. So as I was going back into the early part of this movement for us, a lot of the challenges that we had, back in the days, they referred to us as the renegade Moors. Other elders referred to us as the renegade Moors because of the perception that we had and the activity that we had when we came in. And a lot of those Moors that was around back then, you don't see them no more. They might be spread out, but you don't really see them like together. And again, a lot of people was burnt out. And not stroking any egos, but it was that activity that paved, it was the sacrifice that was put out there that paved the way for new Moors to come in that's able to exercise things and don't have to fight certain things that was already fought on their behalf. That's very important, because everyone, every age, every decade, there's forerunners to open the doors up for other people to come in and do different things. And it's just bringing back so much stuff just by having y'all here. So just bear with me and not exposing too much, but the fight is what I'm trying to relate to, where I'm talking more coded than anything, only out of respect. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to acknowledge your fight, because there's not too many people that I've seen over the years that was willing to fight like y'all fought, especially for your children. So nothing went unrecorded, physically and metaphysically. Islam. And this is what people need to relate to, because like the saying is, people think things are sweet. You know what I mean? Moors think things are sweet nowadays because they don't have to fight like they used to fight.
Nope.
The fighting that the Moors is having nowadays is like elementary fights towards what Moors used to have to do.
Absolutely.
Shatik been around as well, will tell you. Where now is accepted, where you get pulled over, even though they might not want to acknowledge it, they're still aware of the cause and effect.
Absolutely.
What you're dealing with is more known.
Absolutely.
Meetings, police academies, this information has been discussed on a larger platform where officers now become aware of people being pulled over, regardless of the nonsense that's going on out there. But just the awareness is there. At least they know what it is and they know what to expect. It's a lot different. It's a lot different from being pulled over and you know what I mean, flashing your card or telling them who you are and they snatching you up out the car. It's a lot different. Without going into no rhetoric, you know, and again, I'm not going to go into too much, but, you know, Moors just don't understand. And that's just what I'm bringing to the table now. That we can't always look at elder Moors, even Moors that we say been in the temple all these years and haven't done anything and have suppressed the movement, even though a portion of that is true. But you got to give honor where honor is due. Mm-hmm. It brought us to this point.
That's right. That's right.
The fact that we're here, the fact that we know who we are was because the doors was open.
That's right.
Where other people were allowed to get information, and then other people maybe took it to another level.
Absolutely.
But we got to look at what happened or what occurred, no happenings. But we got to look at what occurred back in the 20s.
That's right.
You know, to understand where we even going with this today. The challenges in the 20s is different from the challenges in the 80s. The challenges in the 80s is different from the challenges in 2000. You know, so we can't point the finger. We can't blame. That's what the Quran is telling us. That we're not in a position to blame other people for what we're going through. There's a lot of haters out there, even in the Moorish movement.
Oh, absolutely.
And really, if they're hating, that's not the Moorish movement.
That's right.
Because the Moorish movement don't deal with hate
at
all.
That's right.
And Drew Ali didn't teach that.
Nope.
He taught reflection. Any problem that we had, he showed us how it was inside somehow. You know, and that's one of the highest teachings that we have to learn within self. Islam?
Islam.
Islam, any questions before I go move on? Any statements? Islam. So we're talking about this, a new administration of government. Moors, we're in a time frame now where everything is becoming digital and virtual. And like I said, we went from learning this, defending ourselves, typing stuff on a typewriter through this whole electrified age. We found systems where we can physically go proclaim and get IDs and do different things in government. Those times is changing now. So even though we might have felt like we perfected something for a couple decades, now we're in a situation where now they put a locked door on that. So a lot of us got to sit back now and go back to the drawing board and figure out, well, how do we move forward from here? All right, so these are closed door conversations that should be going on all over the country from those that's on the level already. The old ways are not going to work no more. We just can't give out a nationality card, tell you where to go, and you go down there and change your correct your name on this and that, and you walk out of there, they're putting a lock on that door. So you got to understand it, and a lot of that is by way of what has changed and what we had have done over the past 20 years has brought it to even what we're dealing with right now. A lot of these issues that they blaming it on all this other stuff has a lot to do with what keeping a count on the Moorish movement. And I won't say everything, but just understanding the science of the counter that they must do based off what we have changed. So now we're dealing with things that's more virtual proclamations, virtual affidavits. We're dealing with virtual tribunals, virtual court.
That's right.
Virtual court. And has anybody dealt with virtual court yet?
No, heard about it, know about it, but never
All
dealt
right.
with it.
But you're all aware that it exists.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, so remember a lot of that old stuff that we've been dealing with, or you might have mastered in the physical court, you got to know that that's changed and changing. So now you got to kind of like, it doesn't mean you can't carry some of that education with you, but now you got to start preparing for the virtual special appearance.
That's right.
So Moore's coming in trying to study the old stuff right now. The old stuff might not work. And then the new Moors right now can't really tell you about the future arguments and things that were going to occur, because now we have to look into how that's going to unfold. So now everybody's in a frenzy state where they forced us into like a every man for himself type of environment. But nobody knows how to help anybody right now because everybody trying to figure out, well, what's the next step? The foundation has been swept from America. So now we in this together. Now we really need each other.
Absolutely.
Because no one way is going to work. No one person has the knowledge or the information or the perfected information. You know, understand? So we all need each other. We need the young and the old to come together and now put a plan together to try to deal with this.
Absolutely.
Even economics, you know, which is really key, and I really have an interest in. Even that's changed and changing. So the economic approach has to be overhauled. The way government ran is being overhauled. The way the Moorish Science Temple has been ran needs to be overhauled. And everybody in every other school of thought has to overhaul what they're doing. The churches and everybody else is overhauling their programs. And you see it unfolding right in front of our face in the community. You know, but remember that the more genius Moors got to come up with different programs and plans to move towards the future. Or else, you know, just look at the position. For example, Joe Ali came out with these lessons and told us in the early 20s, some of my best Moors was in the church. Why? Because they were already indoctrinated in the church, but a lot of them was loyal, qualified to do other things, but that was the only game in town, right? So he came out with lessons that spoke the language of the church or the people that were in the church. He didn't mimic the church, but meaning that he used language that was already familiar to people in the church. And this is for a reason. And he was successful with bringing a good percentage of them out of the church and into the Moorish perspective of things. But the church was already successful when he started the Moorish movement, is what I'm trying to say. So he had to compete with a well-established organization and religion, regardless of who started. I'm not going into all that. But my point is, now where we at now in so-called 2020, for us to have this information over 100 years now, and we claim to have the right program. This is just saying what Moors say. I agree, but just what the proclamation is. To say that we should be further advanced than what they are. We have no excuse anymore to say, well, what they've been doing or what they were getting funded to do. And we don't have the excuse to blame them anymore, because now they're forced to be innovative in their program. So the church should not surpass us right now in our mission of what we're doing. Like they shouldn't they shouldn't ride a new innovative wave and be ahead of the Moorish movement now, because everything that they did was swept under their feet and they had to start all over with a new program. So if they're forced to learn new ways to get their message across, so are we. You understand what I'm saying? So what it takes is people in the church who can think outside the box are going to look at new innovative ways to continue their spreading of the word, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So now the challenge is to us Moors as a whole to do the same thing. That means everybody sitting in the seats is forced and summoned spiritually to think of ways to make the movement more innovative. So it's a challenge for everybody. So I'm challenging us. We're already being challenged, regardless if I challenge you or not. You're already being challenged. Prophet said, I brought you something that you can't tear up. It will tear you up, and it will divinely tear you up if you don't get on the mission and do your job. It will tear us up as a whole, because we're all connected to this. So this is where the new Moors come in at, the young Moors, because the young Moors are coming in. They don't want to work anymore. They don't want to do any labor anymore. So we depending on the youth, the young generations are going to come in with their eyes wide open and do things according to more COVID times, if you want to call it that, which is needed for us, because now we might not have that mind. They're not programmed. They never did what we did. So they're going to come in looking how to do everything on their phone. They want to be on their phone all the time. All right. It doesn't mean it's a negative. The thing is, they have to be guided on what the direction and the mission should be with the phone. You understand? So don't mean that we have to simultaneously work with them and keep their interest somehow, because the way that we did things is not necessarily going to work and help them or help ourselves. You get what I'm saying? So now we need them just as well as they need us, because we have the knowledge and experience. They got the youth and the young mind to adapt to the new technology. So this is why, again, the prophet foreseeing this, because he's a prophet. He can see the future. But he knew all of this was going to take place, to the point where he says that the children got to come to Sunday school. It's important, not just because you can't find a babysitter, but just for the point of, if they're not in the mix, if we're not vibrating on them, when they're able to do these things with the phones and get a drive to do things, they're not going to have the language or the education to help us, and they're not going to want to help us. And this has been proven because look at the movement now. It's more of an adult movement. Well, it's voluntarily, but people come here, they come in here as adults, and they're trying to learn for themselves is what's really going on. And what's on YouTube is more catered to adults. It's not catered to children and the youth or teenagers. So therefore, there's a whole missing gap right there that's not being fulfilled. We're not teaching, and I'm not going to say no one in this room. I'm saying across the board, collectively, we're not teaching the youth enough. We're leaving them out of what we're doing. And our mission is to include them in what we're doing, even if they don't want it or not. You have to force it on them and be stern. And that's why Drew says, send your children to the temple. It's not a suggestion, it's the law. Because he's looking at if you don't, what the consequences will be. If they're the future guides of the nation, how they're going to guide you when they're being taught by other communities, other cultures. What are they going to, when they do guide, what are they going to guide you with? They're going to put you in slavery. So they got to tag along in order to get this information. So I just want to also give honor to the parents who are involving their children in their curriculum, in their studies, in the movement, and what the cause is all about. Because that's more important than anything. Giving them this knowledge and also backing it with an economic strategy, because that's also a part of slavery that I didn't mention, but it's real vital with this. It's we're in economic slavery. So that working the 9 to 5 and working for John Doe and Mr. Smith and all of that has to come to a stop. I mean, it Ben should have came to the stop. I'm just keeping it real and coming at you another way. If that's where you at right now, you need to come to a stop because you're enemy to your own movement. That's Drew Ali's teachings. And we can go through that on another occasion. But really, that's where we need to be unfolding into our own ownerships of land. Because a lot that's being, this is old talk, but what is occurring is being swept right under our feet right now. Where these investors is already down south. They down south where nobody want to be buying up property. Because they know what it is. We're being boxed out. And we didn't heed the word to the prophet. But we got to be in a position to capitalize off of that property or whatever it is that we're dealing with. But we have to be in an economic structure in order to do that, which means that we got to make more. We got to make more bread, fiat, which is really currency, which gives you trade power. The fiat is not the focus point, and that's another lesson. Most of you already passed that. So I don't have to get into what that is. But you got to have trade power. So you got to be able to offer a service or a product that has trade value to it. That's the new economy. So sooner or later, you're not going to be able to go to a physical place and work for an hourly wage. That's not going to happen. And if that's the only skill a person has, they're going to be out of work. Just keeping it real. So we got to have something that's going to be passive, as far as passive income, and we got to have something of trade value that is always going to be in demand, services or product. But it just means being entrepreneurs, owning our own businesses, and get out the mind frame of going to work for somebody. And the youth needs to hear this message. That's why I'm talking about it. And everybody's youth, not just the ones in here. We're online as well. But the youth need to hear that, to encourage them, because that's what they want to hear anyway. The youth ain't trying to work for nobody. You know, even for their own people, they don't want to work for them. Or I don't blame them, but I'm just telling you that you got to give them direction. What the new generation needs direction. And we're going to lose their interest if we're working a 9 to 5 for someone else that we've been talking about are the oppressors, that we acknowledge are the oppressors, but we're going to work for them. And then we're going to tell the youth that they need to do the same. The youth don't want to hear that. So they're going to lose respect for us, which they already did. And they put their interest in people who they think is successful, which owns their own businesses, like celebrities, rappers, and etc., even in legal activity. But it's all geared towards owning your own business and not working for nobody. Is what the wave is. So they are looking at those that are doing it, and those become their teachers. That's who they look up to. And then they're guiding them to do it the way they recommend, which is not going to be beneficial to us. So they're calling, which we already know, but it's going to be another shutdown. Some places already started to shut down. So it's not too late, because I don't want to talk about things with no solution behind it. I don't like doing that. But we've been talking about this for a while, and things are manifesting now where it's not too late, but don't wait till it's too late. You got to get on the move now of doing stuff. If anybody riding the wave of unemployment, it's going to run out soon. You can't depend on that stuff. Don't mean you don't take advantage of it, but mean don't depend on it. Put yourself in a position where when things shut down, when funds run out, that you're in a position to have trade value where you're always going to be in demand. Those are the meetings we should be having, conversations we should be having, and we're going to continue to talk about that in other forums, but that's the real conversations need to be taking place. How much history you know is okay, but is like irrelevant. How much law you know is cool, but it's kind of like irrelevant. If you can't apply your history, what you have studied, what you are reading, if you can't apply that to now, then something's wrong. And really, that's what it comes down to be. And again, I'm not talking from perfection. It's trial and error. But I'm just saying where we need to be headed, the direction. We need to be inspiring each other. We need to be calling each other. What's going on? What you start? Yeah, you file that? Got your trust set up? Got an LLC? Whatever you do. But we need to be challenging each other on progress. What you got going? Because if not, don't call me talking about what's up, what you doing. I'm not talking about none. You know, if it's nothing inspiring or challenging, then it's a dead conversation. So the only way we're going to come out our comfort zone if we challenge each other. And it's going to be uncomfortable. You might not want to talk to somebody if you know that you've been slacking and you ain't do what you're supposed to do, what you should be doing. You ain't going to want to talk. I understand that. But out of love, we shouldn't feel some type of way because someone else is trying to push us. And that's what's going to really be most uncomfortable is you're going to feel some type of way because somebody trying to challenge you and push you. And just accept that. That if I don't want to communicate or if I'm not ready, expect to be challenged and don't get mad or upset at the person who's challenging you. And one business is not even the deal. That's a goal, but multiple businesses. You got to try multiple businesses. We just got to put all our energy in just setting stuff up. Some things going to prosper, some things going to fail. Accept failure, expect failure. It's not the end of the road. Failure gives you the experience. But we got to try, the way people who have made it did things was they put their hands in several different pots. You don't have to 100% own something. You can have a percentage in different things. And network with people who have certain things that are already successful in different areas. Any questions? What type of time we got, Shaki?
Time's 3:29.
Islam. So I just want to give us some nourishment on that level. And again, just giving honor to our family, early pioneers who helped us, who walk with us. As we move forward, be a little patient with us as far as with the administration. We're going through some changes. We're also trying to counter changes that's being made in the administration. We just went, well, not we personally, but we collectively just went under the elections. So a lot of seats in government is in a transition from local government to national government. So a lot of things is on pause too, allowing the new elected people to take over. They're like in training from the county clerk all the way up. So things is going to be like crazy for the next couple of months. So if you're trying to get things done, be prepared that you're going to get a lot of resistance and opposition, and just accept that. Don't be discouraged. For new Moors that's coming in and want to proclaim, don't discourage because time is messing with you. It's just going to be a turmoil right now. But spiritually, you have to be consistent in your fight. It's a test, it's a challenge to you. And again, you gotta blame yourself. If you coming in now and things is 10 times harder, that's just because you waited so late. You can't blame nobody else. Just blame yourself. It's a new era of time and things is a little different. So again, we can't give you all the answers in the process. Nobody can give you a process. Don't let somebody sell you a process. Don't be a consumer to what Moore's got going on either, because the processes is not 100% guaranteed. You're gonna have to study. You're gonna have to get involved in what's going on. You might wind up telling them how to do something right. So don't be gained by stuff. A lot of stuff is on pause. So Islam, that's going to come to our closing of our meeting. Can someone ask Sister Mo to come out? tell her we're about to close as well. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So as we waiting for them to come out, everybody's good. There's no questions. So nobody has any questions that they need answered. Brother Mark. Now will be the time. I know there's a lot of questions on how one might have. And I'd rather you get questions answered here by just searching for it on the net. So even if it's off topic, if you have a question, please feel free to ask.
My question or concern or curiosity or statement is that the lesson that Brother Flyango went over today is pretty much giving us the instructions dealing with which you expound upon today. Just dealing with us going in personally and looking at our deeds, our actions, and this information. Because this, I'm sharing this as a question, but also as a statement because I'm giving you my personal perception.
All right.
And understanding.
All right, Bill.
But it should move you in a certain way, whereas, you know, if you wanted to do certain things, say, you know, quote unquote, before Friday nights, I used to want to go party, hang out, kick it. I don't do that no more. I don't want to do that no more. I may want to do certain things, but I don't do that no more, right? Because of the overstanding that I'm getting for self and of my innate abilities.
So what are those thoughts on what you would like to do?
The thoughts that I would like to do is operating my own corporation, operating a wellness center in regards of I'm a yoga instructor, dealing with just those principles with the brothers, right? The young boys and the young men, because we are hurting and we need to heal from whatever trauma experiences that we've had, say like within our family structure and outside our family structure.
Yes.
Just dealing with those issues so that I can be a better husband, a better father, a better brother, a better friend. You know, I could be better around dealing with my business as well, right? But some of these traumas affect us in dealing with, as you spoke of today, dealing with what the things that we need to be dealing with because of those traumas that we have, or because of the lack of experience or teachers in our life. We don't know how to deal or do certain things, go through certain things. And then when something or somebody comes to us, maybe not in a negative way, but they may hit us with a question from a different angle. We may not know how to answer that question or deal with that because it's from a different, let's say, school of thought. But then how we deal with that is we get upset or we get angry. Information that you're acquiring here at the Moral Science Temple, for me, is helping me deal with that from a different perspective, not act in my old way, act in a new way, right? But those are some of the things that I would like to be doing or that I'm working towards. So I would just mention that the lesson, that lesson entails that. Just working with self, having those certain experiences, because I'm looking for, and I'm only speaking on this because of myself. I'm trying to be a better me. I'm trying to be a better me. I can't be any of you all. I can't be my sons or my wife. I'm just trying to be me for them as well. So I'm just looking for those instructions so that I could go over it, so that I could do what I have to do. So that's why I'm just expressing that you know, appreciate that lesson, and that's it. I rest.
Islam. And I think we all share that same zeal. And the best way to address that is to oblige ourselves. And I'm speaking to you, but I'm speaking to all of us. Oblige ourselves to whatever we want to do, and means go deeper into it. You got to obligate yourself. Like More Science Temple helps me with my missions too. I want to become a grand sheik, not for fame or reputation, but to oblige myself so that I can learn more about being a grand sheik and myself. You understand? Because as long as I'm looking at a grand sheik, I'm not going to really know what he does. I had to really oblige myself to become a grand sheik so that I have to do what a grand sheik does. You understand what I'm saying? And now I'm accountable to what the rules and regulations say on how Drew Ali scripted on how a grand sheik's supposed to be, how he's supposed to live, how the house supposed to be, what I'm supposed to teach, what I'm not supposed to teach, how I'm supposed to entertain people. You see what I'm saying? So now back to the lesson that you talked about, the Flying Gold talked about. It says it right in there. Apply unto ourselves principles of action, the rules of actions, and see that you live according to them. That's what it says in that chapter of inconstancy. So principles of action is real important, that once you obligate yourself to something that has a program or has an order, then now you're held accountable to that order. And that's what I was saying, that we need to look for stuff to do, because an idle mind is a devil's workshop. And then we all over the place if we just, one day you're studying this, one day you're studying that, one day you're clicking on this, the other day you're clicking on that, you're going over there with them, going over there. Now you're all over the place and you really don't have any principles of action. So we need to oblige ourselves to something that's consistent. That way that we can follow what is already laid down for us to follow. And it could be in economics, that could just be in business, whatever you want to do in business. Like you say, if you're going to be a yoga instructor, just don't do it your way. Right. Look at the competitors, look at what the other successful yoga instructors are doing. Look how they do it. Look at the formula for yoga instructors. And then, you follow suit on the program that's already laid down, even if you fine tune it and twist it and add your twist to it, but at least you know what the formula is and you oblige yourself to that. That'll make you a better yoga instructor. And that's again, I'm using that lesson to everything we might be thinking of in our mind, because we all got something we want to do. You just got to do it, and even if you're not qualified, don't let that discourage you. You still set yourself up in a position to do that. And then it'll make you learn it that much quicker when you oblige yourself to it. When you sign up for something and you agree to something, even if you paid your fiat towards it, now you feel like you obliged. Now you're going to go. If they having classes, you got to be at the classes now. But if you just studying it on YouTube, you're going to fall back a little bit. You're going to do it at your own pace. It's always going to take you longer when you're in a situation like that. Do it yourself type stuff is always going to take longer. So again, the Prophet put us here for a couple different reasons, but as administration of government, that's why I spoke a couple weeks ago about getting involved in local government. Start on a local scale. If it's board of education, if it's town committee or councilman, any of these positions, it's a good step for us to learn government. Regardless of the de facto stations they might have down there. We still need to learn it, because it's going to make you, like you said, a better person. That you at least learn the formula on how it's supposed to be ran, then you can try to correct it. Then you can step up to a higher office where it might not be de facto anymore. It could be more de jure or whatever the case may be. You know, and we start here. This is what we teach here, which you know. But this is what the teachings are. Oblige yourself to it. Establish to yourself rules or principles of action. Islam? Islam. Anybody else? Islam, Sister Sarah.
Expounds on
Mhm.
fact about the entrepreneur
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
And sometimes you can be surrounded with people with same interests or something that can be cohesive to help each individual, whatever they're doing. But
Mhm.
we don't know whose interest is what or what they need or whatever.
Mhm.
We need like a list, like, well, I like this and I do this.
Mhm.
And somebody said, well, Sister so-and-so or Brother so-and-so, and they can say, okay, well, can we collaborate on this to make this grow much faster, exponentially? Because, like you said, everything is changing and changing.
Islam.
So we don't really have no time to be like lackadaisical.
Absolutely. Islam. So with that you just said, here's what we're going to do. Regardless of how much off the ground we got our ideas, like you talked about the yoga instructor. This is a challenge and a ritual we're going to do for starters. Whatever we want to do or we're thinking about doing, I want all of us to go get business cards made, regardless if you're doing it or not. We're going to start somewhere. We got to get it off the ground. Everything starts with a thought, right? So for those that need help with graphics, design, logos, you can see Sheikah Sneaker, and she probably can help you with that. Far as getting cards printed, you can also see her. Or if you don't want to wait for her, you can go to vistaprint.com. It's a website where you already have to have your logo and stuff, design, and you let them know what it is or what rough draft or how it looks, and you pay them, and you can start off with 200-300 business cards made.
We have Staples as well, where you can get 1,000 cards made out, and you come up with your own design.
Islam. So Staples is another avenue. So this is not like it's not too much of a loss of finance. Even if you change that and you're not going to take it serious, we just do it anyway. You know, most you're going to lose is $20, $30, $50 or whatever, but at least the protocol is what's necessary. We need to know how to start doing stuff. Also, what you do is you got to go on New Jersey. If you're in New Jersey, you go on New Jersey Business Gateway of each state that you're in. And you do a search, a business name search. So you come up with a business name of whatever you want it to be. You do a business search first before you get it printed. Just do a business name search first. Make sure nobody's using that business name in that state. Somebody could be using it in another state, it's fine. But in that same state could become a conflict of interest. You can use it on a local level, but you can't really go too many places with it because it's already packed. All right. So you think of a business name, then you can even secure that so that nobody else can use it. It's real cheap. Could be $14, $15, so in that neighborhood, and you just secure the name all online. Got a debit card. You pay them and say, well, look, I'm using that name right there, Moore's Yoga Instructor or whatever. I'm just throwing that out there. Nobody's using it. I'm gonna lock that down. Go on the website, secure that with your $15 or whatever. Now nobody else can use that name for starters. And this is another science to this too, that there's plenty of people, a lot of investors and rich people, they start up businesses and then sell them. So you don't have to do it forever. You could change. You can change. Russell Simmons do it all the time. They start a clothesline and just sell it. Get it off the ground, get it, put everything in place and just sell it. That's a business within itself. So don't think that, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm not sure yet what I want to do. Don't let that be a hindrance. That's a stagnation. Set it up anyway. You can sell an idea. You can sell an idea. People pay top money for ideas. Even if you're not the one that's going to take it to the next level, just still put it out there. So business cards, I want everybody to get a business card. And then we're going to come back and network with each other, just as a starter. Those online, Moors, Islam, same thing. More startup business, put some business cards out there, send them in to us, to the temple. We're going to start there. And then we'll start networking, because even if that's like, for example, use Brother Stanley here as an example. He came to me a couple months ago, said he was interested in electrical work, right? Said he wanted to work as an apprentice, but he didn't have nobody that want to really take him on. And in certain trades, you have to be an apprentice for 3-4 years before you are eligible to have a license. So as soon as he said that, I knew a brother who actually is an electrician or more. So I put them into contact and told the brother, listen, stay up under him, because he's not going to steer you wrong. You know, but again, you bring me an idea, I might not can't help you myself, but I might know somebody who can. And I think that's what you was getting at too, Sisters, rather that listen, we all know somebody who do different things. Brother Wisdom do construction. You know, Brother Shatik do construction as well. You know, Brother Wisdom had his own construction business for years. You know, you remember the newspapers we used to do back in the day? All right. Well, in the newspapers, I would put up different business cards way back then. What I'm telling you to do now, I was doing it back then. Brother Taj, house doctor. That's the name of his business, right? So whenever Taj used to come down, and I think we did a couple things too, but I didn't do construction. That wasn't my thing. But I made business cards up myself called Moorish Construction. You know, because I'm thinking from a contractor perspective. So now I got my own clientele of other people I'm dealing with, other networks. But now I'm going to get them a Moorish Construction card. So they calling me for different things. So what I do is I'll call whoever that I know who can do it. If it's Wisdom, if Brother Taj or whoever. As many times I drove to Philly and went and got Taj and said, listen, we got this job that we got to do. I put my neck on the line. I need your help, because I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I remember this one gig we did with this garage, and the garage never got done, but I obligated myself to do it, and I didn't have an idea of what I was doing, and he just wasn't available. You know, but it really discouraged me, because I said, well, I'm not doing that no more. I'm not going to say I can do something and I can't. But again, it's no failure is what I'm trying to say. It's no failure. You know, you got to put it out there anyway, because now what that obliges you to do it. You know, you'll learn to do it, to offer that service and get it done. Islam. So that's going to bring us to the closing of the meeting. Islam. Brother Omar, you want to? According to Act 3 of the additional laws, we're just going to have a donation and then we're going to close out.
Let me get the book. Look at that book. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Give me that one.
No, go ahead and keep those.
Keep these?
That's not Thank you.
No, I'm on the side.
Islam was in connection with the warnings. We're not going to read them at this time. But we're going to ask all Moors if we can rise in observance of the Moorish American closing prayer. All those who do not wish to participate in the prayer may stay seated. For all those that do, we rise, we face the east. 5 fingers on the left, 2 fingers on the right. Feet at a 45-degree angle. Islam. Repeat after Sheikh Isnika Bey.
May Allah
May Allah
Bind our hearts and minds.
Bind our hearts and minds. Back to our ancient forefathers. Divine creative principles. This we ask. In thy holy name. And the seven Elohims. Amen. Islam Wars meeting is now closed.
You was under the weather, Grand Sheik. They said you was
I am.
under the weather.
I am, brother.
You still here?
Yes, sir.
How you been?
Yes, sir. Islam Noble. Islam, are you all is well?
Yes,
All right.
I appreciate that edification today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, bro. We're gonna push it. Everybody, faith, everybody business, what they do.
Need that.
That's the real reason why.
Right. It's she did over the situation where it came out of I'm just using that scenario as an example. As I told her, I said, they didn't.
I have a question that relates to people say that they're Jewish. That dish is
So,
which means reputation, right?
ISH is a suffix. It just means whenever it is attached to a word, it means pertaining to whatever the subject was prior to it.
Okay.
So it has nothing to do with nothing fugazi. It just means pertaining to. That's the only thing it means, pertaining to. So Moorish means pertaining to the Moors. Jewish means pertaining to the Jews. So it should apply to other stuff too, not just people's names. Whatever it is, it's pertaining to. It's like, I'll give you an example. Reddit. Yeah, Reddit means pertaining to Reddit. That's all it means. Pertaining to whatever issue just a subject. So, we are more. But now there's more. So issues added to it to say pertaining to the more. More means pertaining to anything. As a nationality, more rich pertaining to the more.